Hi, and welcome to episode 7 of my tutorial series for Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead. I'm Icon, and this episode will be all about food preparation. So, my goal for today's episode is to cover up the topic a little bit more detailed, and by the end of this episode, we should have a permanent fire spot, a small stockpile of food, of course, and a little bit of a fuel source, and I want to configure that in a way that it is less clunky to use. So I hope I will be getting that into 30 minutes. Can't promise. If anything else, well, there's going to be a second part of this episode or so. Now, let's get started. We already covered crafting to some degree in the last episode, so I'll get back into that, but here's the key to access the crafting menu again. So today I really want to focus mainly into the food topic. So whatever recipe we take, let's take a very mundane one. Let's say a boiled egg. Wonderful. So the boiled egg does obviously need us to have a tool to boil with. Not too surprising. A fire source. That's what we have to get, or a heat source, I should rather say. And of course the obvious components. We need an egg of any sort, and we also need a little bit of water to cook it in. Now, these sources here have all one thing in common. They are rechargeable, except for one, which is easily missed here, and that's the nearby fire option. So you can boil an egg with all these different tools, but the most stationary of them and the most permanent of them, I want to say, but it's not that permanent. Anywho, this is my favorite thing to go for in a base environment. Of course, all these other options suffice too. If you have a plenitude of electricity available, a hot plate is genius to cook. But we're going to work with fire in this one, and the other options, well, we're gonna get there in the coming episodes, because there's no chance that I will cover the whole cooking experience of CDDA in only 1 or 2 episodes. Now, to get all that done, we need some place to make fire. So how do we pull that off? Of course, we can get into the inventory and check out the matchbook. So let's press A again, small a, activate the matchbook, and you can put a fire out somewhere. With this fire, you can cook, of course, no problem. So we could just go over there and set the bench on fire. Most interestingly enough, in this game, you really can set all manner of different things on fire just with a little match. It's not realistic, but this game really tries hard to be realistic, so don't be too harsh. Of course, works with a lighter too. But by all means, don't do what I said right now. Because if I would start now lighting that bench, the fire would spread from this tile to that tile, and this looks like a flammable, yeah, this is flammable floor too. So before I would have had boiled the egg, the fire would be already spreading to no control to everywhere. So to avoid all that, you need a controlled fire pit or something. There are different ways of getting that done. You can build a real fire pit, where you need to shovel a hole and put stones and all these things. But the most easy, accessible way that I personally found so far in the game is a brazier. You can loot those, but you can also craft them. So let's get back into the crafting menu, small f, and search for brazier. So here goes. The brazier needs a fabrication skill of 1, as we see here, a tool with hammering 2 or more, and also 1 piece of sheet metal. This is really easy to acquire altogether. And a brazier, once you put fire material in it and light it up, it won't spread. So you won't kill yourself with that. So that's mission 1 for today, to get that done. So how to get sheet metal, though? That's the most tricky part. So to get sheet metal, you need to disassemble certain types of items. So let's let the light in, and let's talk about disassembly of stuff a little bit again. So that was the construct terrain menu. So we need that one for this. So we get in there, and here you see there is the deconstruct furniture thing. We need a tool with prying and screwdriving. Luckily enough, I got a screwdriver down here, so let's pack that in, and let's go. So for the unfortunate scenario that you don't own a hammer like I do here, because the hammer has a prying quality, there is a way around that. So you just need to go for that crafting menu again and search for crowbar. A makeshift crowbar can be made just out of a pipe. You just need a tool with hammering one or more, and that is, as a matter of fact, a stone outside. It is a tool with hammering one or more, so it's really easy to get there. So a pipe, well, pipes drop from all manner of metal items, and if you don't have that hammering and prying or that prying quality on your equipment, that's what you need. Now, let's deconstruct one of those little shelves here. Maybe we get lucky. So let's press the G button, and here we go. Lucky us. We already got that sheet metal, and as you see, there would be also pipes. Basically, every metalline furniture structure includes some pipes. It's really not hard to get them. They also make pretty decent melee weapons if you lack anything. If you can't craft yourself a cudgel, as you can see here, it is a Screamo compatible. If you use that like I do here, and in combination there, it is very similar to a cudgel made out of metal. The problem there is just when you don't have any weapon, disassembly of these items is not that easy, and the other way to obtain pipes is to smash a metalline item, and again, without a weapon, you get the idea. Anywho, that's not the topic right now. I'm getting sidetracked. Now we're going to craft ourselves that brazier I was talking about. So we now got that sheet metal and all we need. So let's put that up. Let's what to do with the in progress brazier. Let's drop it on the ground. Okay. Oh, that doesn't work. I just wish it would just start working when I drop them on the ground. Anywho, this game is sometimes a little bit wonky in that regard. So right now, I'm wielding that brazier. Actually visible. So the brazier can be put up somewhere by pressing A and activating it for deploying. And now you can deploy that here. Here's one thing though. If we now start to use that brazier inside of a building, that works, no problem. But there is a problem, a rather big one, and that's smoke. Smoke is just something that occurs when you put on a large fire in a closed building. There are only a couple of ways to avoid smoke with a fire in a closed building. For example, a fireplace. Certain houses have fireplaces, so the chimney can avoid that smoke. So we're not going to go for that. So let's press E again to activate the interaction menu and take down the brazier again. So now it transforms into an item again. Let's pick that up one more time. Wield my baton again. And we're going to put the brazier up. Where is it again? A brazier, where are you? We're going to put the brazier up outside, just to make sure that there's not going to be any source of smoke inside the building or during the cooking process. This is important because if you have a fire inside, smoke clouds will randomly spawn around that fire. That's all, and they disperse again. That's not really in any danger unless it spawns on your character while you're cooking. Then you're starting to inhale that stuff, take damage, your stamina runs out, and you have to interrupt your cooking procedure, and that's really annoying because sometimes your character will not do anything for the remainder of several days except for cooking. So that's that. Now the other problem right now is that we don't own any food by any way, so it's time for us to get back into food collection. So there are two ways of obtaining food. One of these, the most obvious way, is plundering it from the town. This is a very, very valid early game solution just alone due to the fact that there is a lot of food inside the towns, and quite often it is even processed food where you don't need to cook. The other option you got is to go via the survival way. Survival allows you to collect all manner of different foods out of the wild, and that's pretty useful. And we're going to go with that topic today a little bit. But let's see, do I already have a... Okay. But for starters, I would totally advise you to try and plunder as much as you can out of those towns, but this doesn't need too much explanation. All you need to have is a backpack, carrying capacity, fighting power, get in there, plunder those houses. We don't exactly need to do a tutorial about that. But what about survival, you might ask yourself? So with survival, we can't just go outside there, and survival allows you to interact with all manner of different nature items. So let's zoom a little bit closer in. So when you press E, you will get the interaction. Nothing can be examined nearby. But let's check out that fern here. We press E, pick fern, yes please, and I'm harvesting some fiddleheads. And I also gained a little bit of crafting survival XP. So now, well, you have to check out what you can interact with. So underbrush can provide wild roots and all manner of different things. Trees and poppy flowers. Oh, be careful with poppy flowers. They can produce drugs, but also when you pick them, they can also KO you. Willow tree provides willow bark. So the list of survival items is extremely long in this game. And it's also depending on the time of the year, and there's all manner of different things. Datura seeds, pine boughs, pine cones. It's a lot. But the gist of it here is by collecting stuff, you can level up your survival skill, and I just keep doing that until I hit level 1 at least. Wild vegetables, you see. Here we go. Practical skill has increased to 1. And now let's get back to our food place. So I didn't really gather anything edible right now. I gathered all manner of funky things like even plant seeds. But there's one thing that... Where are they? Ah, here. Fiddleheads. So you see, they were the only edible thing among these. But with the increase of survival, you also gain lots of new crafting recipe that interact with survival. But you also gain new food options. So here goes. Boiled fiddleheads. And you learn to roast all manner of different nuts and stuff. So survival is an entirely own branch of creating food for yourself. It's basically a living off the land. It is, in the beginning of the game, with low skill values, much less calorie yielding than a regular diet that consists out of plundered goods. But at the same time, it is also a very good way of keeping yourself alive. So while you might first only be capable of boiling those fiddleheads, and later on you can do all manner of different things, for now, for the tutorial, sake of the tutorial, we're just going to boil some fiddleheads today out of locally sourced material, wood and such. So here's the next trouble. We need a spot where we can work with that food. So I'm going to start dropping the food items that I got, which I want to process, or in general food items, on this spot here. It's very important that the items are visible on the floor from the spot where you want to cook on, like your crafting spot, because otherwise you won't see them in the crafting menu. Like sometimes items, good example here, watch that counter. These items are only discernible when I get closer. That should not be the case when you want to craft with, as far as I know. So another thing that we're going to need, though, is a fire source, you know. So there's a wonderful recipe in this game called a bundle of planks, a bundle of long sticks, and a bundle of everything, basically. So these are my favorite early game fire sources, you know. Be creative on your own. There are lots of different things. But we not only need planks, but we also need a rope. So where to get rope from? We need a short rope. So we can craft that out of long strings. That's one reason why I stockpile long strings wherever I can find them. Ropes are really useful. So let's craft ourselves a rope. So let's dispose that baton and craft that rope. And you can already see this this did take us a while. So a couple of hours later. Now let's wield that baton and store that rope in the inventory. So food-wise, well, we're very hungry and we're down to gummy candies. Of course, my character won't be capable of sustaining himself just with fiddleheads, but just you wait. Now we're going to go downstairs, and now we're going to gather our planks that we need. So I personally like to go for something like this. I don't want to do this job with the baton I'm using right now. So instead, I'm wielding a plank right now. Yeah, I'm also going to collapse that baton just to make it fit into my inventory. Now, we got that plank, and let's just smash the hell out of it. So here we go. And now, get into the crafting menu and search for the bundle recipe again. So now we got 11 planks around us. Wonderful. Let's do this. And now the bundle of planks I've crafted is in my hands. You know, it's rather heavy, and therefore we got what we wanted. Here's another thing. What I'm doing here is pretty inefficient, but it's a quick way of obtaining planks. You always yield more material out of anything in this game if you actually deconstruct it in the way like I did upstairs there with the with that shelf. Whatever you want to harvest for resources, it will be more effective if you don't smash it but deconstruct it. The problem there is just deconstruction that takes way longer and grinds up your weariness. And at some point, the more weary you grow, the slower you work, the worse your mood, and there goes. So the game limits you in that degree of farming resources in that way. Okay, but now let's get back outside. A bundle of planks works like this. You go into the disassemble menu, here, disassemble items, and then you just disassemble the bundle of planks while you're standing on your fire pit. That's the easiest way to do it. Now, the items drop on the floor when we do that. Let's get that short rope back because I don't want to incinerate that. And here goes. So now there's planks in that fireplace. Wonderful. So let's try that. Let's start a fire. Wonderful. Let's go into the crafting menu. And as you can see here, we can do roasted almonds now. Wonderful. But why not the fiddleheads? So let's check out what's wrong with the fiddleheads. We're lacking water. That's what's wrong with the fiddleheads. So for now, though, we're going to roast those almonds. Press B for batch production. And here's one thing that I want to mention here because, you know, details of the crafting menu, batch time savings. So a lot of recipes yield a time saving when you do them in batches. So just wanted to mention that. The ratios are completely different for all manner of different recipes, but for now we're going to craft those roasted almonds, and the roasted almonds are not a valid eskrima weapon. If you want to avoid that, by the way, that all these crafted items land in your hands, you need a crafting table next to yourself, but I can't provide that right now. But you can also set up via the construction menu a crafting spot. That would be the other option. Crafting tasks next to this tile will automatically use this location instead of attempting to craft in your hands. So let's do this. Let's put that one over here. And now this should be no longer a thing. Okay, but I want my baton back in my hands. Store those elements in my inventory for later use. And let's eat that thing and extinguish that fire. Really important that you extinguish your fires after you're done. But as you might see here, what we done here, we incinerated all the planks at once. This is not by all means a efficient way to do it. So let's change that procedure. And afterwards, we're going to collect some water. So let's do this again like we shouldn't do this because it is so much fun. So, whoops, wield that plank. And smash a couple of benches. If you're wondering why I'm doing this with a plank and not with my baton... Oh, I'm out of stamina. Oops. The reason is quite simple. My baton can be damaged when I randomly smash stuff. And that's something I really don't want to see happen with my main weapon. So that's all. Okay, so we got that bundle of planks, and now we're going to do something crazy and something new. Because you can actually tell the game, just like I told it right now, that I want this to be my crafting spot. I can also tell the game that there should be a spot where that firewood should come from. So this is the... it's capital Y, but I don't know how the menu... Zones Manager. Here, so manage zones. That's what we want to do here. So capital Y. Now, this is a tool which allows us to tell the game where certain things should be drawn from. So we're going to start out simple. This is a very extensive and useful menu, which basically allows you to configure your whole base automatically, so you don't have to do all the micromanagement anymore. So here, down here, let's see, is that visible? Yeah. Let's press the capital A, or no, just A for add, small a, sorry. And now we get to select what kind of zone type we're going to pick. Now, as you can see, there's a plenitude of different zones, and this can be overwhelming as hell. So we go down there and we just pick that firewood source. So this, press enter, zone name, source firewood, and now you get to select the first point of that zone. So you just select where that firewood should be, where that spot should be, where the firewood should be taken from. I advise you to not put it too far away from your fireplace, because it might happen automatically that the fire source gets fueled, but it only looks like that. As a matter of fact, we now tell the game that the character we're playing should automatically do what we would do manually. So you don't skip that time. Your character does exactly what you would do. You just need to micromanage it anymore. So let's press enter, select first point, and now you can drag with the arrow keys and select the size of the spot. Most of the time, a singular spot is enough for me. So let's press enter a second time. And now you see over here, we got that source here now marked. Now, there's another thing. When we press E, we can enable or disable that thing, E and D. D for disabled, then it looks like that. If it looks like that, it won't work, by the way. You won't be able to pull stuff from there. So make sure it is a light green. Now, you can also remove and edit them. It's pretty self-explanatory at this point. All right, so save changes. Yes, please. And now we gonna be disassembling our bundle of planks at the newfound fireplace. Okay, pick up the short rope again. And now what happens is we start a fire. Check this out. There's only 9 planks anymore on this spot, and the fire is only fueled by 1 plank, and there will be only a new plank put into there as soon as it's necessary. Very, very useful trick to make your life easier. So let's get back into the zone manager and add another zone. So you can also tell your game to have a spot where you will automatically eat and drink from. So I strongly recommend you to use these as well, because this is really cool. With these spots, let's put that over here, right next to that. Auto eat. With this mode on, while you are doing any longer thing here, crafting for example, if there's any food on this spot, let's put some of the gummy candies I got and the roasted almonds. As long as there's now food on this spot, my character will automatically grab that and eat from there. So we're going to also put the auto drink zone right on top of that. So they share the same spot. It's not a problem at all, as far as I know, at least. Or at least I hope. I gotta admit, the last couple of times I always used shared tiles, but I want to try if it works out like that. So forgive me the experimentation, my friends. So now what we're looking for is a little bit of a water hole. If I remember correctly, there was one here in the forest there. So forests pretty much tend to yield these little shallow water pits. So we're going to pour a little bit of water into that into our plastic bottles here. Here we go. And look at that. There's a fern bonanza. So let's pick a couple of ferns while we're here. So we got more of those fiddleheads. And there we go. Let's get over here. Turn on that fire again. And let's craft ourselves just that clean water. We need 6 units of that. You don't have anything to store in. That's not entirely true, because we got the plastic bottles. The game just warns you, but as long as you have your water in containers, you can safely ignore that warning, because, you know, the containers will be reused afterwards. That was always a little bit weird for me. Now, so we're not exactly in a very wealthy spot right now, but we definitely can craft ourselves those boiled fiddleheads I was talking about. I know it's a rather lousy food. It definitely doesn't yield us too much nutrition here, but, well, it will work out after all. So let's see. Let's extinguish that fire and drop those boiled fiddleheads over here. I still got a lot of fresh fiddleheads because I did a mistake. Let's correct that. Let's get back to the water place. And as you already notice here we start to have a little bit of a encampment going already. So, oops. Rose bushes, don't step into those. They hurt as hell. And let's re-put that fire on, but this time I want to boil the fiddlesticks without cleaning the water first, because you don't need to, actually. That was just a very unnecessary thing. And as you see here, stuff gets done the way we want it to. Let's get back some water, because I want that water to be available. Oops. There we go. By no means should you try to live off of fiddleheads. These things, this recipe I'm working with here is merely for demonstrational uses, you know. Let's put those ingredients over here. So, let's see. Yeah, as you can see here, I still have access to the fiddleheads behind me, so that worked out. Let's do some more clean water. Always carry some clean water on yourself. And let's extinguish that fire. So that's the basics. Let's try one more thing and see if that configuration worked out. So let's read one of those books while standing right next to the auto consumption spot. So why don't they behave like they want to? I'm sorry, guys, that was during a long activity if you get hungry and thirsty. I think I just haven't worked long enough. Feel free to correct me here in the comments if there's anything wrong. I haven't experimented with that feature too much, to be quite honest. Automatic eating should work like that. If I do anything wrong, drop it into the comments. I actually a little bit confused why it doesn't work. So the day is over. We got ourselves a little bit of food here. Not too much though, but our character seems to be satisfied. So we're going to drink a little bit more of that clean water and refill our bottle. There we go. And, well, when it comes down to clean water, this is one of the more annoying tasks. And major, one of my major preferences when I select a base is how close or far away a water source is for me. Because, as you see here, we really got to do that quite often and quite a lot. And the more far you need to walk, the worse. Okay, so when you want to know where you can actually gather good survival food, it's quite simple. In the beginning of the game, search for riversides and swamps. Swamps, be careful with those. Cattails grow at swamps and river banks. They are a really good source of early game nutrition, from my experience. Also, good source of antiseptics. So let's bandage our dude one more time. That head wound ain't healed yet, and that arm wound neither. Always bandage your wounds at the end of the day to increase your healthcare skill like that. And let's sleep the rest of the night, or no, we don't. So there's one cool thing now. Since we got level 1 of healthcare, we can now craft ourselves boiled makeshift bandages. These need a healthcare level of 1. Really, don't try to do it without. It's absolutely not working. And boiled makeshift bandages are just the upgraded version of your regular makeshift bandages. Alternatively, if you don't have access to a fire source, you can always use bleach. It's water bleach or water fire source to upgrade your bandages. So here you see I'm using them immediately because they provide a better factor here, and also they increase my healthcare skill as well. So let's go to sleep, and that's pretty much the basics of cooking in this game. You know, there's a lot of things that are more difficult, of course. The more complicated your cuisine grows, the more difficult the tools. No, the more various tools you need. So let's give you a good example here. Meat soup, wonderful example. So there's so much text on there that you can't even read the entire recipe, but you will need food cooking tool of quality 3 or more. You've got to plunder that out of houses. Those are pots and all manner of different items. Of course, the fire source. You need broth, which you need to craft yourself first. You need an egg, and well, you get the idea. There are certain recipes that have way more pre-production steps than others. And also, if anybody knows how the hell you can scroll downwards in the crafting menu, please send help. I haven't found out until this very day. Anywho, so that's the end of this cooking session. We gotta be picking up some food, of course, for that dude, and I might be side scraping it with during another episode, just to show you what you can do with wheat, with which ingredients. And maybe I'll do a entirely dedicated episode to the advanced cooking, where we include the butchery too. Haven't decided fully on that topic yet. I hope this, though, was already helpful for you. So feel free to ask your questions away in the comments, and tutorial series with its own included questions, but that's CDDA in a nutshell. There's always some sort of confusion, and only a couple of players out there, I think, are capable of understanding that game thoroughly. And then the new experimental version drops. Anywho, leave a thumbs up on that video if you enjoyed, and of course consider subscribing to my channel. I do daily content, so you might just want to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to not miss anything in the future. Thank you again so much for your time and attention, and have fun gaming. See you soon. Bye-bye.